Okay, so in this week's staff meeting, we're just going to roll on from what we spoke about last week. We briefly talked about the science essence statement, and the science essence statement says, in science, students explore how both the natural physical world and science itself work so that they can participate as critical, informed, and responsible citizens in a society in which science plays a significant role. Now, that "so that" is really important wording. That basically means that we want them to explore knowledge about the world, but we also want them to develop behaviours so that they're able to participate and engage actively within our world in science-based contexts. So, the requirement for us as a school is that scientific literacy is developed to enable students to understand the nature of science and how it relates to society, rather than have a focus that's heavily weighted in content knowledge. So traditionally, how we've taught is knowledge has been the most important thing. It's indicated that it's been the most important thing because it is in our unit plans, is our focus for our planning and our teaching, and it's also what our assessment has been centered around. If we've done a living world unit, could they tell you, or did they pick up facts about plants? If we did a Planet Earth and Beyond unit, our assessment indicates whether students remembered scientific facts and theories about space. So traditionally, we have had science teaching that has been most heavily weighted in content knowledge. Now for 2018, we want to just shift our focus a little bit. We want our focus to be more around skills and attitudes within science. So do students have some of the knowledge, but also the skills to be able to interact with the world in an effective way? We want our teaching to be driven more by the questions and the wonderings of students, and know now that the most effective processes are ones that are determined by learners. So we want to have science experiences where we give materials to kids and we facilitate opportunities where they can develop science-based skills and attitudes. So science as a whole can be looked at in three components: a body of knowledge, basically the stuff that you know about the world that we live in; a way of knowing, so an appreciation and understanding about science as a whole; and also a set of methods and processes or behaviours that you can use to gather scientific information. Things like observing, measuring, estimating, those kinds of things. Now, those things all work together. However, what we've done traditionally is our focus for our teaching primarily has been in here, developing a body of knowledge. If we look at these three components in terms of how the curriculum determines science, it would look more like this. So the knowledge in our New Zealand curriculum is the science strands, the context for learning, for teaching science knowledge: living world, planet Earth and beyond, material world, physical world. So our teaching has pretty much stayed most heavily there. We plan for teaching science knowledge, we teach science knowledge, and we also assess it to determine how effective our teaching was. The big ideas about science and the understanding about science as a concept is our nature of science. The behaviours and skills that help us to, one, act this and interact with the world that we live in using the things that we know, are our science capabilities. There are 5 of them in the curriculum. They're the newest addition to our New Zealand science curriculum. The science capabilities are: number 1 is gather and interpret data, 2 is use evidence, critique evidence, interpret representations, and engage with science. We're not going to say that we're not teaching this stuff anymore, but what we are doing is we're just shifting our focus. All 3 of these components work together to create a whole understanding of science as a learning area.